Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take these massive stacks of documents, dense source material, complex topics, and, well, we give you the shortcut to being truly well-informed.
That's the mission.
Our goal today is to extract not just the dense philosophy, but the structural wisdom and the surprising human insights that make these ancient teachings so relevant right now.
And today, we are charting truly foundational territory. I mean, we're plunging into the source material that forms the bedrock of so much of Buddhist thought.
We're talking about the connected discourses of the Buddha.
Specifically, we're drawing from the Samyutta Nikaya, or just SN for short. It's a vast repository.
It is massive, but we're not, reading it cover to cover. We're cutting straight to the core.
Right.
Our deep dive today is focused on understanding the architecture of this text, the central and often untranslatable terminology, and critically, the dramatic dialogues that show us exactly how this wisdom was put into action.
Absolutely. And you have to understand, the SN is organized not just by topic, but in some parts, almost by literary style, which is fascinating.
Okay, let's unpack that, the structure. How is this enormous collection of teachings actually put together?
So the SN is organized into 5 major books or collections. They're called Vagas.
5 books.
But the first of these, the Sagasada Vaga, it really stands out because it's organized strictly based on literary genre.
Wait, so not by theme, like not a section on meditation, another on ethics, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Not by theme, but by how the story is told. Sagathaga literally means the connected discourses with verses.
Ah, so poetry.
Yes, every single teaching, every sutta in that collection contains these poetic verses or gathas. The prose, the part that sets the scene, is often reduced to just a bare framework.
So the poetry is what carries the real weight of the teaching.
It carries all the profound weight, it makes it concise, memorable, and turns what could be a dull monologue into a really dynamic exchange.
That makes sense. It's much more accessible. But before we get into those conversations, we really have to establish the foundational concept, the most crucial and, let's be honest, challenging term in all this source material.
Dhamma.
Dhamma.
It truly is the linchpin. And it's just notorious for defying any single English translation.
Yeah.
Our sources show it has layers of meaning that range from the cosmic all the way down to the mundane.
Okay, give us the spectrum. If I had to explain Dhamma to someone right now, what are the, say, 5 key meanings I need to know?
Okay. Start with the broadest one. It signifies the timeless law. This is ultimate reality, where truth, justice, the fundamental nature of the universe, it all merges.
The big one, universal truth with a capital T.
Exactly. Then number 2, we see it applied ethically. It can mean righteousness, justice, especially in a political context, like the title Dhammaraja, the king of righteousness.
Okay, so law and righteousness. What's next?
Third, and this is where it gets deceptively simple, when you use it in the plural, Dhamma, it often just means things.
Wait, things. So it's everything from the most profound cosmic truth all the way down to the most mundane stuff in the universe.
Essentially, yes.
The universal law and my morning coffee.
Well, yeah. I mean, it includes practices, qualities, factors of spiritual progress, and literally everything in existence. The context is everything, but it gets more specific.
Lay it on us. What's number 4?
Fourth, in really dense philosophical discussions, with ontological overtones, it's rendered as phenomena, like dependently arisen phenomena, the building blocks of reality.
Okay, and the 5th?
And fifth, in psychological and ethical contexts, it means states, as in wholesome or unwholesome states, kusala or akusala dhamma. So you have to understand, with this one word, the Buddha was often referencing the entire structure of reality.
That really clarifies why it's so hard to pin down. It's a word that demands total cognitive flexibility from you.
It really does.
Now, if Dhamma is the path and the universal reality, what's the ultimate destination? The concept, our sources say, is intentionally left untranslated. Nibbana.
Yeah, the source material is adamant about that. It's too rich, too defiant of conceptual boxes to be translated as just extinction or heaven.
So what's the core definition?
The core definition is profoundly practical, it's psychological, it is the destruction of lust, the destruction of hatred, the destruction of delusion.
So it's defined by what is removed, not by what is added.
Correct. And metaphysically, it's described with these powerful negations. It is unborn, unmade, unbecome, and unconditioned. It's the final release from conditioned existence, Nibbana.
A state that's stable because it's not built on anything unstable.
That's it.
Okay, that clarifies the goal, which naturally leads us to the path. And that path is all about avoiding philosophical traps.
Exactly. The foundation of the teaching is the middle way. And we see this laid out perfectly in a dramatic dialogue with a naked ascetic named Kassapa.
What were the extremes he was caught between?
He was trapped by two very common philosophical errors. The first was eternalism, the idea that the one who acts is the exact same persistent self as the one who experiences the result.
The soul concept, basically. A fixed, unchanging entity.
Yes. And the second extreme, which the Buddha also rejected, was annihilationism.
The opposite.
Right, the opposite.
Yeah.
The one who acts is one person, and the one who experiences the result is a totally separate person. In that view, causality becomes meaningless. There's no continuity.
Okay, so if the agent isn't exactly the same, but also not entirely different, how does the teaching maintain ethical accountability? How does karma even work without a fixed self?
That is the crucial question. And the answer is the middle way, which teaches the Dhamma through dependent origination. Dukkha-samuppada.
The famous chain of causation.
It's a mechanism of causation that maintains continuity without needing a fixed self. It defines how suffering arises and how it can end.
Okay, that chain is famously complex. Can you give us the high-level analysis? What drives the engine of suffering?
So it defines the origin of the whole mass of suffering. And the engine starts, fundamentally, with ignorance.
That this isn't just not knowing things.
No, not at all. It's a lack of direct, penetrating knowledge of the Four Noble Truths, a fundamental misunderstanding of reality.
And what does that ignorance fuel? What's the next link?
Ignorance immediately conditions volitional formations, or, karma. These are the actions, mental and physical, that create future effects.
And from there, the cycle just unfolds.
It unfolds, conditioning consciousness, which conditions name and form the mental and physical stuff of a being.
So we're seeing a self-sustaining cycle where one lack of knowledge creates the very conditions for our continued existence and suffering.
Precisely. The chain continues to the sixth sense basis, contact, feeling, and then we hit the next major driver, craving.
Which leads to clinging.
Which leads to clinging. And clinging culminates in birth. And birth, of course, guarantees aging and death, the suffering we all recognize.
But the key, the profound takeaway, is that if you can cut ignorance at the root,
the entire mass of suffering ceases. The whole chain just unravels. It's an elegant, logical undoing of reality.
It really is the ultimate intellectual shortcut to understanding suffering. Now let's shift gears from pure philosophy to pure drama, because the SN is full of these direct encounters with supernatural forces.
Oh yeah, confrontations with Mara, the evil one.
And Mara is more than just a devil figure, right?
Much more. He is the personification of temptation, sensuality. He's the psychological force that binds us to this wheel of conditioned existence.
Yeah.
And his attempts to confound the Buddha are just fantastic.
Tell us about the farmer simile. It sounds like a metaphor for sensory control.
It's a brilliant confrontation.
Yeah.
Mara appears as a farmer, and he claims ownership not of land, but of the very mechanisms of human experience. He says, the eye is mine, forms are mine, the ear is mine, sounds are mine.
The mind is mine, mental phenomena are mine. He's claiming the entire field of the six senses.
Exactly. He's basically arguing that since we experience the world through those senses, he controls our world.
And the Buddha's counter-argument.
It's surgical. He just says, where there is no eye, no forms, and no eye contact, where these sense spaces and their objects don't exist, there is no place for you there, evil one.
So the answer is to transcend the whole sphere of sense experience itself.
Understand the senses as conditioned, and his claim to ownership just vanishes.
Speaking of challenges, there's a moment of real social commentary with the nun Soma. This text preserves a challenge to a very ancient prejudice.
It's an incredibly powerful moment. It really cuts against the cultural attitudes of the time. Mara challenges Soma, and he voices this ancient prejudice that women have mere two-fingered wisdom.
Two-fingered wisdom, what does that mean?
It implies a trivial domestic intelligence.
Yeah.
Just enough to handle cooking rice. And he says because of this, they can't attain nibbana.
Wow. And that prejudice, unfortunately, echoes across centuries. How does she put him in his place?
Soma's response is just this clear, powerful lesson in spiritual equality. She states plainly that enlightenment doesn't depend on gender or social status or anything physical.
It depends only on the mind.
Only on the mind's capacity for concentration, for wisdom, for effort. These are qualities accessible to any human being. It's a profound, early statement that spiritual potential is radically egalitarian.
That's a sharp contrast to Mara's aggression. To finish this segment, let's look at the quiet wisdom found in the forest, the dialogue with the Devata.
This is a beautiful piece. A heavenly being, a devata, sees these forest dwellers and asks the Buddha why they're so serene, living this austere life.
So what's the secret to their peace?
It's a simple, elegant definition of mindfulness, he says. They do not sorrow over the past, nor do they hanker for the future. They maintain themselves with what is present. Hence their complexion is so serene.
It's all about psychological equilibrium, denying mental energy to anything outside of this exact moment.
That's it.
That is actionable advice for anyone struggling with anxiety today. And the text has a great simile for the opposite condition, too.
It does. It says the foolish, through all their hankering and sorrowing, dry up and wither away like a green reed cut down.
They're wounding themselves by dwelling in what isn't real, the past or the future.
Exactly.
Which brings us perfectly to our final segment, the practical lessons and these compelling similes. Let's start with a masterclass in psychological self-defense, the gift analogy.
Ah, yes. The story of the Brahmin Akosaka Bharadvaja. He approaches the Buddha and just reviles him, unleashes the nastiest abuse you can imagine.
And the Buddha's response just completely reframes the whole idea of hostility. How does he do it?
He responds calmly. He asks the Brahmin a simple, relatable question. He says, if you offer food to guests, and those guests refuse to accept it, to whom does the food belong?
And the Brahmin has to say, well, it still belongs to me, the host.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then the teaching lands perfectly. The Buddha says, so too, Brahmin, we who do not abuse anyone, refuse to accept from you the abuse. It still belongs to you, Brahmin.
He's not resisting the abuse. He's just declining ownership.
That's the power of it. Hostility, when you refuse to accept it, remains with the person who generated it. The gift is rendered inert. It turns conflict into a self-exhausting action.
A fundamental shift in psychological ownership. Okay, so we've seen the path, the goal, how to handle hostility. But the sources contain this severe warning about a danger that's way more subtle.
The viciousness of gain, honor, and praise.
Yeah, this is directed at people on the spiritual path, right?
Squarely at them. Gain, honor, and praise are called dreadful. The text claims that even someone so ethical they wouldn't lie for a chest of gold.
Even they might eventually lie.
They might, when they're overcome by the desire for public fame and acclaim.
Why are honors so uniquely destructive? What do they do?
They corrupt your interior motivation. And the destructive power is described with these really stark natural similes. Get this. As its own fruit brings destruction to the plantain, bamboo, and reed, as its embryo destroys the mule, so do honors destroy the scoundrel.
Wow. So the thing that should nourish them, public approval, becomes the very mechanism of their downfall.
Exactly. And the text provides the real-world example of Devadatta.
Right. His decline is attributed to this very issue.
Yes. Devadatta got all this excessive honor and praise from a prince,
Yeah.
and it only led to a decline in wholesome states. And the simile the text uses is, well, it's graphic.
What is it?
His state is likened to a wild dog becoming even wilder when bile is sprinkled over its nose.
So the external praise didn't calm him down.
It did the opposite. It made his internal, unwholesome tendencies more ferocious and uncontrollable.
These similes are so memorable. They act like emotional anchors for the philosophical point. Let's conclude with what is arguably the most practical takeaway for anyone listening right now: navigating the chaos of modern life. Mastery of the senses. The 6 animals simile.
This is the core teaching on sensory restraint, and it's absolutely vital when you're dealing with constant digital input and distraction.
So break it down.
Okay. Imagine a man who catches 6 wild animals: a snake, a crocodile, a bird, a dog, a jackal, and a monkey. Each one represents a different powerful drive.
And each is tied by a rope, and each pulls desperately toward its own domain. The bird wants the sky, the crocodile wants the water, total chaos.
Precisely. They're pulling in 6 different directions, just exhausting the man trying to hold the ropes. And the parallel is explicit. The 6 animals are the 6 sense faculties: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind.
Pulling you incessantly toward agreeable or disagreeable things, driving, craving, exhausting your mental energy.
Exactly. So how does the teaching propose to subdue this sensory riot?
What does the man do?
He doesn't try to chase down each animal individually. That would be impossible. Instead, he binds all 6 animals by their separate ropes to a strong post or pillar.
Ah, a single stable point.
A single stable point. The animals struggle furiously, pulling in their 6 directions until they're utterly worn out and fatigued.
They exhaust themselves against that fixed point.
That's the key. When they're exhausted, they eventually just stand close to the post, sit down there, and lie down there. The strong post or pillar, the text reveals, is a designation for mindfulness directed to the body.
So the strategy isn't to suppress the senses.
Not at all. You redirect their energy toward a single, unshakable point of stability until the chaos of sensory input just settles on its own.
That is a powerful and liberating visualization. Instead of constant fighting, it's a practice of grounding. When the senses wear themselves out, they eventually just settle at the post of mindfulness.
It's the ultimate method for controlling inner chaos, not by external struggle, but by establishing internal stability.
What a fantastic deep dive. We've extracted the multi-layered wisdom of Dhamma, the psychological clarity of Nibbana, the philosophical necessity of the middle way, and the sharp practical power of these similes.
And as we conclude, I want to return to a fundamental concept of reality presented in the source. It draws on the definition of the world itself, or loka.
Okay.
The world is called the world because the Pali term indicates that it is disintegrating, lujati.
It's not a noun, but a verb. It is actively falling apart.
Exactly. The sixth sense bases, the eye, the ear, the mind, and everything that arises from them are constantly dissolving moment by moment.
So that raises a pretty profound question for you, the listener, to mull over long after this deep dive is over.
It does. If the world you perceive is not a fixed reality outside of you, but rather the momentary sensory process of your own existence constantly dissolving, what does it mean to cling to anything within it?
Think on that, and we'll see you next time on the deep dive.